Hey guys, we're going to look at how to do a function composition. So pretty much the idea behind this is that sometimes in math, when you have to find an answer, it's not just a one equation process. There might be multiple equations. So a composition is kind of the combinations of rules of two separate functions, kind of like it says right here. So every one of these that we're going to do, we're going to take a number, an input value, and what we're going to have to do is apply two rules to it. So if you look at exercise 1, this is just kind of one to get you what the idea is behind it. So it says a circular garden with a radius of 15 feet. It's supposed to be covered with topsoil. And the topsoil cost is $1.25 per square foot. So the idea here is that we're going to have to do two parts of this. We're going to have to first determine the area. And then after we do that, then we got to figure out the cost of covering the garden with the topsoil. So to start, what we're going to do is we're going to use our area formula. And again, this is a geometry formula. You remember that's pi r squared for area. So in this case right here, they want nearest square foot. And then in my calculator, it will be pi. And then I'll take the radius, which is 15. And I'll square it. So I'm going to take my calculator, put it on the screen, and I'm going to clear everything up out of there, and then I'm going to do second and the caret symbol for pi, and I'm going to do 15 squared. And it says do nearest square foot, so in this case this would be 707. Now here's the thing, that doesn't give me a final answer yet. I have to go ahead and I got to figure out the cost of covering the garden. So right now what I got to do is I got to go ahead and take that 707 and multiply it by 1.25. So 707 times 1.25. So my final answer will be a total of $883. So again, the idea here, like we've talked about before, you got two different rules taking place. We got a formula we're using, and then we're multiplying by 1.25. So we're going to look at some examples on the other exercises. Now, here's the thing. You want to go ahead, you want to work inside out. So, for A, for example, they want us to take the number 1, and they want us first to put it into G. So I'm going to take my rule for G, which the rules are up on the top. I'm going to put the 1 in for X and G. So I'm going to do 2 parentheses 1 plus 3. Now that one's pretty easy to do. I'm just going to do that in my head. I got 2 times 1, 2, plus 3 is 5. Now, what would happen next is now I have to figure out what f of 5 is. So I take the answer from the first one, and then I put it into the other rule. So, for that rule's right here, x squared minus 5. So instead of putting 1 in, I'm going to put the 5 in to f, and I'm going to subtract that by 5. So in this case, 25 for 5 squared minus 5 would be 20. So my final answer is going to be 20 in this case. So there's this intermediate answer that we're doing. Now if you look at B, f of 2. So we got f of 2. So I'm going to first take the rule f and put in 2 for it. So I got 2 squared minus 5, which in this case would be negative 1. So then what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to do the rule for G, but now I'm putting in negative 1. So I got to go to my G rule, which would be 2 parentheses negative 1 plus 3. So again, I'm going to do this in my head. I got negative 2 plus 3, which would be 1. So that's my final answer. Now in C, you see they use G twice. So if it's the same letter twice, well, that means we're going to use the same rule twice. So I'm going to start off with first doing G of 0. So I got G of 0, which in this case would be 2 times 0 plus 3. which would be 3. Now I'm going to apply the same rule again, but I'm going to put 3 in. So now I have 2 times 3 plus 3, which would be 9. Now, you'll see this F and then a little circle in G. That little circle means following. So the order you do them is similar to above, so it's F following G. So we would still do G of -2 first, and then after you get that answered, then you're going to put that into F. So just look out for each of the notations, and if you have a question in class or want me to show you an example, just call me over. Now we're going to move over to the back of this page. Now this one, they give us graphs, so there's nothing we could type in the calculator right now. We got to get our points from the graphs. So I'm going to do a couple of these ones. We'll do A and D together. Okay, we're going to do those ones together. So we got F at 2. So what you're going to do, start off with F at 2. We're going to go ahead and go to the rule for F and go to 2 on the x-axis. So there's my 2 mark on the x-axis. So if I go to where the graph is, for F at 2, the answer ends up being 3, because the point is here, 3 up. So that means now, to finish it, I'm going to take the other rule I didn't do, G, and I'm going to go to 3 on that x-axis. So I go to G to 3, which is here, so I got it marked on my graph, and then I have to go, in this case, up 3 spaces. So the answer for this one, G of 3, is actually the same number, 3. Now that's just coincidental in this case. It probably won't happen in the next one. Let's do the next one in blue. So I'm going to start off with F and -2. Again, it's G following F, so I got to do F first. So F and -2. So let me go to -2 on my x-axis, which is here. I marked it in blue. Then I end up with the answer of 1. Here's my point. So now I got to go ahead and I got to put in G, that rule, and I'm putting 1 in. So G of 1 in this case. So I go over to G, my graph for G. There's my 1 line. I go up. I hit right here, which is 3 up. So that one I got 3 as the final answer as well, but not 3 in the intermediate step. So you want to look at the graphs. If they show you the graphs, it says here, based on the graphs. So there's nothing you're putting in the calculator. You got to use what they give you. Now, one of the last ones we're going to look at is exercise 4. And this one, they don't give you a number to put in. What they want you to do, and we're going to use some of the skills we talked about in our first unit. So we'll be using some distributing and combining like terms. What they want you to do is take one of the rules. So G of x. We know G of x is 5x plus 4. So I know that G of x is 5x plus 4. But then what they want me to do is they want me to take this whole thing and they want me to stick that into F. So this is going to become my new, shall we say, x. That's going to be my new variable. So if I take F, this rule, and I write this in where the x is, it's going to look like this. So here's the rule I started with. I took the x out, and they wanted me to put the rule in. So what I have to do now is distribute, combine like terms. So I end up with, for this, 15x plus 12 minus 2. So I can combine these two together. So my final answer will actually end up being 15x plus 10. So what I did right there is I took those two rules and I kind of combined them together. So my two rules became one rule. This would be equivalent, like we talked about in the first unit, that is equivalent to doing each of the two rules, just kind of saving us one step. Okay. So as you're working on the questions on the next page, take a look back at these examples. And after you do a couple, because sometimes they can get confusing, you do a couple on the page, feel free to check with someone here or myself.